Today is Friday, the 7th of November 2025, and this is Paper Trail daily streaming all about governance risk and compliance in the UK for SME and mid-market firms. Last week, we spoke about the hidden cost of duplication, and this week we finish with supplier due diligence, sanctions, screening, and keeping evidence audit ready year round from a risk perspective. And today's topic is three simple changes that slash supplier risk and very fast. So don't worry about the acronyms. We are going to mention a lot of them. They will be explained during the streaming. And as a disclaimer, this is not a complete guide. I will focus only on three main problems. And one is coming right around the corner. So let's start with it. Problem number one. Contracts miss Article 28 essentials or bury audit rights. This is hard to obtain evidence when we need it, despite the accountability expectations. So Article 28, by the way, refers to a processors, a third-party entity that processes personal data on behalf of the data controller. Problem number two is monitoring is a set and forget. And this is a risk in the guidance expectations and it's an ongoing oversight, not a single onboarding event. What I mean is actually monitoring is not a set and forget. It has to have a cadence, a review, a recurrent update of what's going on. And this drives us to problem number three. And if you don't know if you're familiar with this piece of paper, I edited for privacy reasons. Identity verification that is in force now or starts on the 18th of November 2025, which is from today, 7 working days. This is a company house mandatory identity verification and for directors and people with significant control. If your files don't reflect verified roles and codes, your person with significant control and ultimate beneficial owner pictures will lag reality. Now, this is a big problem because this is an update and I'm not, probably you receive many emails or somebody in your team received many emails about this, but you have to collect all this information from your suppliers. And if you don't, then you might run into problem. So let's put this in a simple metaphor. Your supplying controls are like a home alarm. Yeah, you install the alarm, you armed and test. But if you leave the alarm without the batteries, what will happen? You are not going to get the updates. You're not going to get the alarms when you need them. And obviously, they require people to be informed. Usually, there are three things: ambulances, police, which is ambulance, police, and doctors, right, or firemen. So the right people that need to be alarmed, if in any of these events, won't be. So why you have a nice alarm set that you set and forget, and you never update ever again? So that is a big problem. So, but we have three solutions for that. Number one, standard terms. So lock Article 28 clauses, which is processing on instruments, instructions, confidentiality, sub-process or approvals, assistance with audits and incidents, and verify everything at renewal. And when we say renewal, remember we spoke about cadences this week. So it's a calendar event that happens on monthly, quarterly, or yearly basis that you review all this information just to make sure, and particularly by tiers of risks. So at the higher the risk is more often the reviews. Number two is a risk-based monitoring. So what we mentioned, align with the National Cybersecurity Center supply chain principle, set refresh cycles by tier and keep sanctions, logs, and control attestations dated. Solution number three, wire the IDV. Remember this piece of paper? Well, it can be electronically. Collect company house personal codes and file confirmation statement timing in your dossier so people with significant control, director's evidence stays current. So it seems simple solutions, but actually it starts to get more complex. And the complexity sometimes is not about what you set up as your company requirement for compliance, is the amount of updates and little dates that you have to keep in mind, not only for your own records in terms of, I will have to update the risk on this tier for this person every 3 months, but for example, IDV is coming into requirement on the 18th of November, 7 working days from now. And we spoke about Willow, the Cyber Essential update that happened in April this year. So if you don't have somebody, or your reminder systems is not right, is hitting the right people in your organization, then you might have a situation where you are working perfectly fine on the wrong information, or not doing what you're supposed to do on the right information. And this is particularly challenging for SMEs and mid-market companies where there are no dedicated teams or officials or personnel within the company to run these compliance requirements. And we are talking about one or two simple ones here, like a Willow updates for Cyber Essentials and now the IDV for Company House. And imagine you have, as a regular companies in UK, have around 16 frameworks that are required on any UK company. And we start to mention some of them: health and safety, DVCA for fleet management, GDPR, cybersecurity, and so on and so forth. So no wonder 73% of UK companies outsource and hire a consultant or an advisor, according to a PwC report this year, 2025. So what you should be looking for when you are going to outsource people to help you with these kind of things is always, or as I always mention in this live stream, that you and your company should have a compliance baseline, so, or at least a baseline in mind, so you can hire on your own terms. And what a baseline looks like for these particular cases that we're mentioning today. So look for what outcome they are offering you. So as a client, can cut follow-ups by standardizing clauses and setting a light monitoring rhythm. So is evidence ready before anyone asks? So like this example today. So I already have this done for many of the things that we are required to do 7 days ahead of the deadline, right? So this is an alarm system that PaperTrail produced for us. PaperTrail is software. So what differentiator are they offering to you as a consultant or outsource advisor? Do they tie contracts, controls, sanctions logs, and company house artifacts to each supplier? For example, this one. An artifact is a concrete piece of evidence that you produce during supplier due diligence. And here's my piece of evidence. And number three, how they reduce your risk. Do they provide templates mirroring the National Cyber Essentials Center, all the requirements, the Office of Financial Sanctions implementations and the Information Commissioner's offices, and surface renewals or IDV dates like this one that I show you, that will produce less debate and more deliverables, meaning don't wait for the things to be found after the fact. This, for example, the deadline. Act before the fact it comes to into place, right? So, as one action that you can take today, right? As a matter of exercise, don't wait for the weekend. Probably you are going to do this over the weekend because you are very busy. But pick one strategy supplier, confirm Article 28 clauses, run a fresh UK sanction list search, and save those logs, and note the director IDV status with date, and file all these three together, right? So if you're struggling to do this, then probably you're not that organized as you thought, and your risk exposure is big, or you have a risk exposure there. So it's amendable, of course. Now, doing this exercise, what you find, that these are not that easy, because this is one of the many. But there is an easy way. I mentioned already the software, PaperTrail. You get ready supplier contracts and monitoring, UK aligned pack, covering everything: Article 28 clauses, National Cybersecurity Center, Cyber Essential requirements, and Office and Financial Sanctions implementation, company house logs. So everything in one place. This is perfect for UK SMEs and mid-markets because you use the same control library for health and safety and GDPR and DVCA and cybersecurity, EPR for packaging, so there's no double entry. That's reducing the overlap by 60%, and your costs by 80%. And what's the best thing about all this? That is all in one place. It's a continued gap analysis, it's a clear view of what is done, what is missing, and who owns or who is responsible for fix things before the assurance inspection reports and audit hits you. So who is responsible for IDV? So probably the compliance guys, or probably there will be the officials in terms of requirement of these requirements. Maybe if your organization is not that big, you don't have a legal team to be chasing these things, probably is landing on the COO or the CFO office or desk. Do they have the reminders to say IDVs are missing? Because actually the deadline is on the 18th of November. If they don't have the reminder, probably the company house produce a lot of these reminders. But the person that have to produce all this information and file them, they don't have it, then you have a gap there. So something had to be fixed. So you can do it with paper trail, you can do it once, you do it properly, and then move on to the things that actually are more interesting for your company, or you are dedicated to, like you're frying a bigger fish. And this brings us to the topic of next week. This week, we've used risk to cut overlap. And next week, we'll continue with directors, boards, and leadership risk. As what I'm hearing is that they are pushing compliance down their priority list, making it in reality a higher risk for their own sake and the company overall. And this is what we're going to address next week, because you can be focusing on growing your company, making more profitable, frying a bigger fish, but that nice fish can become very sour if all your compliance is not minded properly, all the updates and things that have to be done, not by you, but somebody in your team, or a system that can take over and manage all those things for you, so you can focus really on frying that big fish and make it the best of it. So join the waitlist, papertrail.com. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you next week. Thank